Hello, I am Digant Hajung. Now I am going to present a seminar about institutional repository objective, purpose, and scope. Introduction. An institutional repository consists of formally organized and managed collection of digital content generated by faculty, staff, and students at an institution. This is the collective intellectual output of an institution recorded in a form that can be preserved and exploited. They are the result of the vision to collect, secure, and provide access to scholarly publication in a novel, digital way, mostly initiated by the institutional library. Institutional repositories are spreading as they have become dispensable component for information and knowledge sharing in scholarly world. Institutional repository is the open access digital archive on open source software. It is a managed, persistent way of making research, learning, and teaching content with containing value both discoverable and accessible. Repositories can be subject or institutional in their focus. Putting content into an institutional repository enables staff and institution to manage and preserve it and therefore derive maximum value from it. A repository can support research, learning, and administrative process. There are various kinds of software users in institutional repository. They are DSpace, Greenstone, ePrint, Bricks, Invenio, Logs, Mycore, Opus, Gopi, Blacklight, etc. Uh, some are proprietary and some software are open source. Uh, Most of the institution uses open source software because they are limited budget. The DSpace is the most uses institutional repository software. Now definition. Institutional repository may define as an information system capable of capturing, preserving, and providing access to the intellectual output produced by the members of an institution. Within the specific context of academia, an institutional repository may contribute to the increase of the institution prestige and nourish the idea of an institutional repository because it manages and preserves relevant information item. As per Wikipedia, a repository is a central place where data is stored and mined. A repository can be where multiple database or files are located for distribution over a network, or a repository can be location that is directly accessible to the user without having to travel across a network. According to 2002, institutional repositories are digital collections capturing and preserving the intellectual output of single or multi-university community. According to list 2003, a university-based institutional repository is a set of services that a university offers to the members of its community for the management and dissemination of digital materials created by the institution. And its community members. It is the most essentially an organizational commitment and to the stewardship of these digital materials, um, including time preservation where appropriate, as well as organization and access or distribution. Foster and Gibbons 2004 defined institutional repository as an electronic system that captures, preserve, and provide access to the digital product of a community. Characteristic of institutional repository. There are various kind of characters of institutional repository. They are Gibbons identified the five core features of an institutional repository. It is institutionally defined, unlike a subject repository in the institutional repository capture only the intellectual output of host institution content may be purely scholarly or may comprise administrative, teaching, and research material, both published and unpublished. It is cumulative and purposeful. Once items are submitted, they should not be withdrawn. This carries with a long-term obligation on the host institution to preserve institutional repository content. It is open and interoperable. A primary goal of an institutional repository it is disseminate the institution intellectual output. In collecting, storing, and disseminating information, it contributes to the process of scholarly communication. Objective of institutional repository to their objective of institutional repository are to create global visibility for an institution, scholarly research to collect content in a single location to provide access to institutional research output by self-archiving to archiving it to store and preserve other institutions and digital asset to manage its intellectual property right appropriately for various data of an institution. Purpose of institutional repository. The various kind of purpose of an institutional repository. They are institutional repository serve as number of purposes such as collecting, creating digital output, providing statistical research and excellent data. The primary purpose of repository is to open and disseminate research output to a worldwide audience. The main purpose of institutional repository is to bring together and preserve the intellectual output of a laboratory, department, university, or any other entity. The incentive and commitment to change the process of scholarly communication have also begun serving as strong motivators. ISCOP. There are various kinds of scope in Islamic. They are preprints of article or research reports submitted for publication, the text of journal article accepted for publication, revised text of published work with comment and from academic readers, conference paper, teaching materials, conference proceeding, student project, doctoral thesis and dissertation, data set resulting from research project, committee papers, computer software, works of art, photographs and video recording, various activity of an institution, etc. are the scope and institutional repository. Now, importance of institutional repository. Institutional repository can be used for scholarly communication, storing learning materials, and course of managing and collection of research documents, preserving digital materials for the long-term knowledge management, electronic publishing, research assessment, exercise collaboration, and tool. These are importance of institutional repository. Now, conclusion. The institutional repositories provide access to research publication and other digital documents of respective institutions. The popularity of this concept is growing rapidly in the higher educational and research institutions to disseminate newly emerged knowledge and expertise. For the past 10 years, institutional repositories have been seen as opportunity for librarians to take on new roles and to add value to their institution. Institutional repositories are highlighting the research work of an institution, thus increasing its visibility, prestige, and public value. So it is very important tool for an institution for better improvement. And now this is differences which I take help from this various kind of article. Thank you.